getting all this advice from all these different people, and it's just like, oh boy, hang on a second. I got to get him in. He's outside.
Thunderstorm?
Yeah. Every time I bring up Action PC Golf.
God will get you for that, Walter. We're going to hold off on this until the storm's over?
No, let's do it. It was just
Okay.
It doesn't look too bad out there.
Somebody up there doesn't want us to record episode 98.
98 is just having a problem. It really is. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Digital to Dice podcast. I am Dave.
I'm Ron.
And Ron, we got episode 98 today.
98, the one where we take your body temperature. No, it's the Tony Saragusa show.
Ooh, Goose. I like that one. That was a good one, Goose.
Sit there in the end zones and
with the big. He always go into the cold field, right? Outdoor cold with the big honking jacket on. He was a character. He was great.
Wasn't he? He told it like it was, and that crew didn't get out west very often, so it was often, Washington and Philadelphia and New York in November and December.
Yeah, it was just fun.
They get a playoff game every year too.
It was just fun watching him. He just sat there with the microphone, the gloves on, no hat. He just like, this is what's going on out there, and he just said what was on his mind, and it was refreshing, rather than having someone dance around certain things. He just said it as it is, and it was very, very refreshing and entertaining.
Yeah.
All right, so we got the 98, the Goose episode here. Ways to get a hold of us. Digitaltodice.com is our website. 978-751-DICE. 978-751-3423 is the text line. Digitaltodice@yahoo.com is the email. And over on Facebook, the ever-growing group on Facebook.
785?
It is getting up there, yeah. Facebook.com/group/digital2dice. And again, thanks to everybody who has been donating to the show, so we can continue on in year 3. We got the bills coming up for year 3. And thanks to everybody that has donated and made it possible for us to keep going. And again, if you listen to the last couple of shows, we talked about how you could do that. It's also on Spreaker, too. I'm not going to run through all that again. Maybe we'll talk about it in episode 100. But thanks to everybody that has donated to the show to help us going another year. Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
So, so in episode 98... Mm-hmm. We were going to talk about seasons, Ron. What's your favorite season?
Yeah. My favorite season? Well, it's not mud season, that's for sure. Fall. My favorite season is fall. I
would think so, too. You got, baseball playoffs. You got football season kicking off, and hockey's right around the corner. So, and for me, it's those cold mornings with the sweatshirt, the hot afternoons where you got T-shirt and shorts on, and then it's cold again at night. It is just like the perfect weather, at least over here in New England. Yeah, no, well, I'm to the north of you, and so when I was a little kid... Hang on.
That month I was in kindergarten in 1976. Honest to God, 1 month. I just proved I was too sassy for them, and that was it.
Yeah, 6 years of kindergarten? What was that again?
6 years of kindergarten. 27 days or something like that. They brought us to a cider mill.
They put you to work? That is awesome. So that's how you got your work ethic. You started in kindergarten. They pulled you out of school and you went right to the mill.
That's right. Some people, it's to the quarries. Me, it was to the cider mill. And so it's one of those crisp days. It was just perfect. And we got to watch how cider was made.
Yeah, that's cool when you did those field trips and you watch it. It was cool. I will say that. Yeah, that time of year, that fall, when we talk about fall. Oh, by the way, when we talk about seasons, we're not talking about fall. We're talking about what sports seasons we play in our cards and dice games. So let's just get that off the table right now. We're not talking about fall. That's on here. But before we get to what we're playing, there's this one trigger I get every fall, and we talked offline about this, is when I'm walking around outside and the leaves are falling and they're starting to decompose, whether it's September, October, or early November, and there's a certain smell of the leaf decomposition I get in the air. And that brings me back to like 12, 13 years old when we would be outside playing street hockey on a day like today. Well, on a day like that, I should say.
Right.
And it just, I don't get it every year. For some reason, I don't get it every year, because this was a long time ago. You're talking, 40 years ago or something like
1874.
that. But it's just sometimes if I catch it just right and I'm walking the dog, I'm outside doing something, and I catch the wind blows, the decomposition smell of the leaves just right. It's like, wow, that brings me right back to playing street hockey as a kid. And it's a good feeling there for a few minutes. It's like, oh, man. And it's like you transport back. Where's my sound? I do. I go back in time, and I enjoy the moment there. So, and you said you had a trigger too, right?
Oh, sure. Because of the way, not to get into a serious discussion of orbital mechanics, but the sun wobbles in the sky depending on what time of year it is, and the sun is at a certain angle the first couple weeks in October, and it goes right back to playoff baseball, and so it's not so quite high in the sky anymore. And it's not so low. And so there's a certain light, a certain shade of light that just brings me back to watching playoff baseball as a kid, important games at Fenway or Yankee Stadium or whatever. And so, yeah, it's fall. So,
yeah, it's a fun time. So we'll be talking about seasons today, which ones we play, why we play, and the whole bit. But before we do that, should we get to what we're playing?
Absolutely.
So I guess I'll go first this time.
Okay.
But I've been playing a few things. I don't know if I talked about it on the last show, but I've been playing inside volley tennis from Inside Sports Games.
Oh, yeah, you told me that you picked that one.
Yeah, I've been really, really liking the Inside Sports Games. And for the longest time, we would poke some fun at them because, it looked like, from the outside looking in, this is one of those games that you got to play to really enjoy. A lot of the Inside Sports Games are. Looking at it from the outside, it's like, I don't know. I remember when I played History Maker Golf from Play.com, and I took a chance on that game, and I watched a lot of videos on that game. And when I played it, the videos, as well as they were done, did not do that game justice. That game is phenomenal. And no matter how many times people did a great video on it, it didn't prepare me for how fun that game was when I played it myself. And there's some games you watch, and when you play, it's like, yep, just like the video. And other games is just, the feeling you get is just with that game. So that's how I was with some of these Inside Sports Games. I watch people play them, and I was like, yeah, whatever, yeah, okay, whatever. Then I started playing them, and I got what they were doing. Mm-hmm. And once you understand what they were doing, and they're all kind of similar, they all just kind of fell in line, like the hockey game. I'm still playing that. I love that. So I tried the tennis game. Now, the tennis game, it's cards and dice only, but it comes with an Excel helper, so you can play it right within the helper. And it's point by point. You roll the dice. It's like, which serve is it and whose card you're looking at, and the next number tells you if it's a winner or loss on the point. And it's pretty much that simple.
It's a point by point game, and you bought 91, the men from 91.
Yes, yeah. I think I was doing a trial of not a trial, but a shortened version of the Australian Open, I think it was, with I think it was Boris Becker.
Yeah,
was playing somebody. And the great thing about it is and you mentioned this that I didn't realize it when I was playing the game, and the other one that mentioned to me is that a lot of the players, not all the players, but a lot of the players have 3 different ratings. They have a card for grass, a card for clay, and a card for hard. And so depending what tournament where you're playing, you use a different card. That is so cool.
Which is wonderful. It really is.
Yeah. Now, not everyone does, because, again, not everybody played the different things here. But it's not a – yeah, because I'm not a big tennis guy, but, it wasn't a one surface for all. That was really kind of cool, too, when you see that in there. So I've been playing Inside Volley. Obviously, the 77-78 hockey product that you, Al, and myself are doing. Al is
Garner project because he can read your mind.
The Canadians have advanced to the finals with a sweep of the Flyers, and Al's going to be playing Game 5, Boston and New York Islanders, and the Islanders up 3-1. So we could have an Islanders-Canadians finals, maybe starting next week, depending on
I'm honored.
Depending how quick. So instead of Montreal-Boston, it could be Montreal-the Islanders. So I got that going there.
I really am surprised how easily the Islanders have handled Boston. I honestly thought that would be the one that would go 7.
Well, Boston's been out shooting them in every game, like by 10 or 12 shots, and they're just not scoring. So it's been Rush and Billy Smith have been standing on their head in that series, just making the saves. I think I played one of them inside the crease, and it was like 36-21 the shots, and Bruins lost 5-2. It just was, that's just how it went. So that's been a fun product. I'm having fun with it, but I'm looking forward to wrapping that up and getting on to other things. That's why I've been playing the tennis. I've also been playing a bunch of golf. Like yourself, I picked up the Action PC Golf, the new one there. Mm-hmm. I have a love-hate relationship with that game, too. There's a couple games that I just have love-hate relationships because I played it a lot in the past. And
that game leads to having a love-hate relationship.
Yeah, and
just golf in general.
Yeah, I played the new one, and it does some things that a little bit different. It tells you a little bit more about the shot or whatever. But I just can't figure that game out. And I guess I'm looking for a casual golf experience when I play golf. And that is it's a great sim, but to me, I don't know what I'm doing wrong, and that's frustrating me. And then sometimes I play it, and I play pretty well, and I have some fun with it. But I mean, if I'm making the shots and I'm screwing up, it's frustrating for me. I need to spend more time with it. I really need to study it and what's going on here. It's a great game. It's a great sim. But for me, I need to spend more time with it. And if I got a lot of suggestions from a lot of people on how to aim my shots and a whole bit. And so it's something I'll get back to. But I think for golf, for the most part, I just want to kick back and play golf. And I'm finding that I like to do more broadcasting than I do playing, which is probably why I gravitated towards APA hockey rather than Strat. Because Strat, I do have to make decisions. And when I want to make decisions, I like to play Strat. But sometimes I like just to kick back and let it play out.
But APA actually gives you more of if you're sitting at the arena and watching a game or watching a game on television. Strat's very good for as we talked about before, if you're looking for the compressed fit, the 9-minute highlight video on YouTube the next morning. Strat's perfect for that. But as far as you got your seats or you got your own popcorn and want to watch all the block shots, that's what app is very good at.
Yeah, it does. It fills in all the holes that Strat doesn't have. So again, it depends on what you want to play. But I like the not making the decisions a lot in games. Not all the time, and some people do, and that's fine. But for me, it's fun just watching it play out kind of on autopilot and me just broadcasting there. So the other golf game I played was, and I'm still playing, was Inside the Cup, like another Inside Sports games. I'm really liking that. That is really a casual golf game, whereas you're kind of rolling dice and just reading the results of the dice. And there's a couple of small decisions you can make in the game as far as going for the green and getting aggressive with putting or maybe backing off on the drive a little bit. But for the most part, it's a dice rolling type of game. And I'm enjoying that. I have the PC version, and it really requires a lot of hands-on manual work with that game, and that's the only thing that comes up short with that game. Whereas Action PC, you can really set up your own tournament, and it goes to town, and you can jump in at any time. Here, it's a little more work required to do things like that. So what I've been doing is I'm playing England versus Spain in kind of a winner of the hole gets a point type of thing. Whereas I have Garcia and oh boy, I forget the other guy's name. But I have two guys from Spain and two guys from England, and they're playing against each other, and they play in the same hole, and I'm going shot by shot in Inside the Cup golf. And again, the lowest score takes the hole. If it's all tied or if there's no clear-cut winner, then no one gets a point. And it's just something I come up on my own, but I have to use Excel to keep my score, because I really can't do that in the game. I mean, it keeps a score, but I mean, for what I want to do, it's different. So I find if I use Excel with that and all my projects with that, it works out pretty well. But it is just a fun, relaxing golf game, and that's kind of what I'm enjoying right now in that. So that's mostly when I've been playing. I did take advantage of the Dice Nuts sale, and I picked up Dice Nuts Golf and Dice Nuts Hockey that were 20% off.
Got a website for that?
I think it's dicenuts.com. It's N-U-T-Z.
Z. So Z or
Z. So it's Dice. Yeah, Dice Nuts. And I don't know if it's dicenuts.com, but if you just search Dice Nuts game, N-U-T-Z. They're all pretty much the same. They have basketball, football. I don't know if they have baseball, but I know they got hockey and golf. So I wanted to try the golf because it looked interesting. It looks like it's a dice roll, shot by shot, roll the dice type of game. It doesn't look like it was very difficult to play. Again, that's what I like to just enjoy, just roll the dice and watch it play out. And the hockey, of course, with it being on sale, I had to try the hockey game. And the seasons are fairly inexpensive. I think they were, and they're all printed too, I think. I don't know if there's any PDFs with them. And I think the shipping's included, and I think they dropped the price on a lot of their hockey seasons, at least the older ones. They're only $12.50 for a season, and that ain't too bad.
So we'll look forward to the unboxing video.
Yeah, and again, I got the History Maker Baseball coming in, so I got a few cards and dice games coming in on the channel. And the new one there, Al Wilson just put out a...
Yeah, this came out today as we tape this.
Yeah, he announced it today. He's got a video on his YouTube channel, and Steve Tower is going to be jumping on that on Friday. This is July 23rd, so the day we're taping the show. He's doing a video on his channel, so go check out After Further Review with Steve Tower, as he does the new Al Wilson football game. Was it Fast Drive Football, I think it was called. Yes. And it's... if you took Game-Winning Drive and Play.com and made a drive-by-drive game, this is it. This is, and you guys know I love my Game-Winning Drive. Okay, that's a drive-by-drive game. You roll the dice and you figure out if they scored or they punted or whatever. But this is it's a Play.com style of a Game-Winning Drive type of game, and it's fantastic. I was watching the videos on it. I downloaded the files. It's all free. Okay. I think it's fastdrivefootball.com. And, he's got a handful of seasons up there, and he just asked if you could donate to a charity if you download the stuff, so it's all free to play. But I will be playing that on my channel as soon as I get everything all printed out. But that looks like a real fun game, because where a game-winning drive, it tells you if it's a run, pass, or whatever, touchdown. His thing is kind of neat, because you still have to roll for the field goal try. So it's like the drive stalls, and you got a field goal try, so you have to roll for the field goal. You roll, I think it gives a little bit more meat on the bone to a drive-by-drive game. Mm-hmm. And you can hear more of the thunder coming in here on the...
Yeah, nice little thunderstorm rolling through.
Yeah, and I just shut all the windows, too, so you can imagine how loud that would be if I didn't shut the windows. So anyway, before we get cut off here, what have you been playing?
Let's see. My 1949 season's almost at an end. We're down to the last 2 days of the season, and I don't know who the heck's going to win it. We have a flat-footed tie between the St. Louis Cardinals and the Brooklyn Dodgers in the National League. They both have 2 games to go. I would give St. Louis the edge because they are at 97 loss Chicago, the Cubs, while the Dodgers have 2 games left against a roughly 500 Philadelphia Phillies team. But stranger things have happened, and so we'll know. That's been fun. That's been fun. The Yankees clinched about 16 years ago, I think, the American League, and so, but they're waiting, and we thought there, and so I don't know if we're going to go right to the World Series or we have the best of 3 National League playoff, which game 1 would be in St.
you mentioned
Louis.
that the National League did a 3-game playoff if they were tied.
Yeah, before we had the playoffs that we know about today, which started in '69. Each league, if there was a tie, did them different. The American League, it was a 1-game playoff. But the National League was best of 3. And for logistics reasons, Brooklyn won the season series. So normally you'd go Brooklyn, St. Louis, Brooklyn. But because you're not going to get on a train, do that, realistically, and then come back, game 1 would be in St. Louis. Game 2 would be in Brooklyn. Because game 3, the home field advantage, would also be at Ebbets Field. So that's the plan, and the Yankees hope that they go 27 innings into Game 3 is what
I think they used to do that in the American Hockey League for playoffs when they had like a best of 3 opening round, and they did a little different actually. Because I remember one time Winnipeg came here, or Manitoba Moose. Yeah,
the Moose.
They came to Worcester to play, and it was a 3-game series, and all 3 games were in Worcester. So there was no home games for the bottom team. I think it was like an opening round, like a 7 versus 10 matchup or something like that, how they did that. But so I remember that there was no home games for them in the first round.
That's wild.
Yeah. I mean, but like I said, you can't go from Worcester to Manitoba and back.
Oh, no, that's just too, just the travel.
Yeah.
So that is almost done. I picked up a couple new seasons from home court games, their pro bowling game.
Oh, nice.
I got today. I picked up 87 and 97. And so people have asked about, I haven't done a video on it yet. People have asked about how to get a hold of them. and it's homecourtgames at Comcast.net. But when you purchase the game, they do bowling, decathlon. They have an F1 game, Formula One game, and a tennis game. I haven't bought the others, just the bowling. You need to do it through PayPal at that address, and specifically tell Ben what it is that you want.
Okay.
And the right email address to send it to, just in case your PayPal email is different from your regular email. And Ben got back to me in about a half hour today with that.
That bowling game's right up your alley, right? I just had to.
Wow. Would you like to go out and catch some raindrops there, Davey?
Oh, I know.
You're right. The other thing is, and I want to rave about this, Todd B.
Okay.
In your streams, been in my streams. Big fan of the Cleveland Guardians of the American League.
Just
I don't mind that one so much.
Grunts and groans. Yeah, at first they came for, it just doesn't end. It doesn't end.
All I could think of was the movie Guardians of the Galaxy.
They're going to be coming for the Pirates and the Vikings next. And people laugh when the Redskins, that's the end of it. That'll be it. It's never the end of it. It's never the end of it. It just doesn't end. So pretty soon it's going to be red, green, and blue are going to be the name of the teams.
There you go. The Minnesota Orange.
The Minnesota Purples.
Well, the Minnesota Purples. All right. So he had suggested that I pick up the Great Teams Volume 2 from PC Replay Basketball. And so I did. And it's got, oh my gosh, the amount of star power in those 16 teams. It's Dr. J, it's Bird in his prime, it's Jordan in his prime, it's Magic Johnson in his prime, it's Stockton and Malone in their prime. Oh my, it's just great stuff. And so Wednesday, the game comes with a full 82-game season. There's 4 ABA teams.
That's interesting that they would do that. They would take all those great teams and make a season out of it.
Yeah. There's an early 90s division and a late 90s division. So it goes from the oldest team is the 69-70 Indiana Pacers because of the oldest of the 4 ABA teams. And the most modern team is the 99-2000 Shaq and Kobe Lakers. So there's a pretty good spread. The only team I question about being in there is the 88-89 Cleveland Cavaliers. Good team, but I personally would have taken the 82-83 Philadelphia 76ers, Dr. J, Moses Malone. That team swept the Lakers to win the NBA title that year. But besides that, absolutely well worth the money. So I did a live stream for that. We'll do a number of those. And had a buzzer beater. The great thing about PC Replay Basketball is you can freeze a game in progress. You can simulcast all the games and watch the scores develop. And I have it set if it's within 4 points within the last minute or 2 minutes, the game will automatically freeze. And then you can go from one game to the next.
Yeah, it's like the Red Zone channel. It really is.
Absolutely. And so in the live stream, we went from the end of the Lakers Celtics to a buzzer beater between Denver and the New York Nets. I won't spoil who it was. And today I played before lunch, and did I have another buzzer beater? No, but I had a game automatically stop for me, and I played Jordan's 95-96 Bulls against the 96-97 Utah Jazz, who they beat in the final. Oh my goodness gracious, is that Bulls team good? Oh, they are so deep. And Jordan, I think, started off shooting 0 for 10 from the floor. So he gets the cold reading on the card. And if you're familiar with replay basketball at all, the one column turns blue. You can't get a basket on it. Well, he ended up with, like, say, 32 points. And Chicago was like a 2-point game at the end of the first quarter, and like a 4-point game at the half, and then Chicago took Utah behind the woodshed. Whoosh!
It's going to happen.
So much fun, and that game captures the flow and excitement of basketball I think probably better than any game I've played. There are other good games. I like Stratton, I like Action PC, but my God, was this fun.
And it's a cards and dice game.
And it's a cards and dice game.
I don't know how it does it.
I had another game that kind of froze there, and but it was kind of a blow up by the time that I got it. The Celtics start off 0-2, by the way. I'm not real happy about that, but
it's a great team league,
it's the greatest teams league, and just you're going to have fun with it. You're just going to have a lot of fun with it. And my God, those Bulls in the second half, that was wow. Anyway, so that's pretty much outside of the fact that I'm going to rant on Gardner here. Before Christmas, Dave showed me a game. I wasn't quite sure. He's talking about this puzzle game that he compares to Bejeweled. Like, okay, Dave. All right, I'll play it. I'll go along with you. Called Gems of War. And I looked at my Steam stats the other day because I play it, and I play it a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I now have 340 hours invested in that game. I haven't spent a penny on it.
It's a fun, addicting game. I think I might have.
Time suck. It really is.
I spent $10 or $20 on it over the course of a few months. Buying a couple of upgrade packs or whatever. But it's fun. I hit a wall on that game, and that's why I stopped. Because
I love it.
But it is. It's so fun. At Christmas time, I like all the skulls that would come down. That they were all dressed as like elves and stuff like that.
Yeah, they were all in Uncle Sam hats for the 4th of July.
Yep.
It's just, it really is a time suck. And there are so many different ways to play that game. Anyway, thanks, Davey.
I like when you end the match and you flip over the cards to see what card you get and if you can get any new characters. And it's a load of fun. Gems of War. It's a match 3 type of game, so to speak. And you just move the stuff around the board and you can take your special powers and wipe out a whole row if you want to, or attack the enemy.
It's great.
It is very addicting. Yes, I played that quite a bit myself.
My wife says, "Are you done with Mana Surge?"
Yes, Gems of War.
So that's what I've been playing.
Nice. All right, so should we get into seasons?
Yes.
So that greatest teams thing you're talking about, that was kind of a good segue into seasons because...
Yeah, because I'm not really a what-if type of player.
I don't usually...
Just too good of a deal.
Yeah, I usually don't play, the best team from 1970 against the best team from 2010. I think I will at some point because I do have some greatest team sets somewhere. But for the most part, I like to play within the season. That's just me, And at some point, I will do the greatest hits or whatever. But I like to go within the season because I just figure it's a more fair of a matchup. It's because it's like what teams are good, what teams are bad. Can you get an upset? How's this mediocre team going to do? How's this player going to do? So I enjoy playing within the season.
And I think the other thing that because there you can buy franchise season discs where you have the depending on the sport, the 12, 40 or football team size, is that no one's ever going to perform the way you expect them to perform because they're all-star teams, at that point. But basketball, I think, gives you the greatest leeway for that because there's just so much scoring involved.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And they're all basically they're all 3-point era teams when you add the 4 teams from the ABA because they're the ones that was the first league to use that shot on a regular basis. And so, but they're all, it's pretty much a 15-year spread, and it worked. It works. Mm-hmm. And, if you play a team from 1927 versus a team from 1980 in baseball, yeah, you can. And yeah, you can have a lot of fun with it. But for me, what happens, is the pitching going to be too strong?
Yeah.
You're going to get 16 and 12 games. You're going to get 1-0 games. Yeah. And if you pull out whatever for that experience, you need to balance. I think it's tough.
So if you play within the season, so let's talk about why we choose a season to play. And it almost kind of falls in line to choosing your next project, I guess. But as far as going with the seasons, there's so many different reasons that I pick a season.
let's start with the basic one. If you're new to the hobby, nostalgia. 14. If someone asks, well, what should I get? Well, get the season for your favorite sport where you were 14 years old, because it's all going to come back to you. And most companies have pretty much everything from the 70s and 80s for most of the big game companies. So that's where I would start, just for pure nostalgia, to ease you in the game. Because although it wasn't a 14-year-old season for you, you bought 91, 92 for Apple?
I bought 90, 91. That was
91,
I think that was the year that Sega put out their first hockey game in the Sega Genesis, and that was 2 years before NHL 94, which was the big one. So this was the original one. It didn't have it. I think they had NHL. It was just NHL hockey, and then it was NHL PA, and then it was NHL 94 for whatever reason. But I mean, the very first one, that was North Stars and Penguins in the finals, and that season, when I looked online, I was like, man, I just know practically everybody from that season. I was really watching hockey at that point. That's kind of when I saw that's where I really peaked, and then it tailed off from there as I went into the mid 90s with hockey. But that season, when I looked at some of the teams and the players, I was like, holy cow, these teams are loaded. And I'm not even talking Bruins. I'm talking, the St. Louis Blues were loaded. And so the first game I played was Pittsburgh and St. Louis, and like the starting 10, I was like, I know everybody here. And so, and the reason I did go with that is because I do so much 70s hockey. Right. And 70s baseball and 70s football, that I was like, something, I need to break out of my comfort zone. I'm going to try a brand new game, and I'm going to try a season that I'm probably more familiar with 90 than I am 70, just because I was so young at 70.
Experienced it firsthand.
Yeah, I watched it on TV. I had the cards of everybody, and they had a lot of video for it back in 90 compared to 70. So that's why I went with that, and I'm glad I did, because that really sold me on the game. So yeah,
about to say, that made the point that a game that you weren't certain about because you knew everybody, it was just easier for you, especially in a cards and dice game where imagination is so important. You just picked it up, and they became, instead of just cards on a table, they became the 3D players that you.
They became very personal. Yeah. Right. And we should say that this topic, by the way, was suggested by one of our listeners. So
absolutely, I'll even give the name. It was Mark Unger who asked us.
Okay, yeah. So I wanted to get that in there as well, that he suggested it here. So you suggested to me, and now I suggest to people, is that if you're going to buy a new game and you have the option of getting seasons, get a season you will enjoy, or people that you know, or teams that you know. Because if you just say, well, I'm going to try this game out, and I'm just going to get the basic game, the bare bones price, and you get the couple teams from the championship game, or sample teams, or fictional teams, or whatever comes with the base set, you're not going to have any relationship with those players, and it's just going to be the ball goes to this guy's at the plate, this guy throws a pass, it's person X. But when you have players that you're familiar with, it really does take the game to a deeper level for you. And I found that I gave this game a lot of time, because I enjoyed seeing Oates pass the puck to Brett Hull, and he took the shot, and Tom Barrasso made the save, and Paul Coffey slid it up to Mario Lemieux, and it's like Yaga was on the wing with him. It just
right.
I can go on and on and on with that first game I played. Whereas if it was, I think it comes with the set of the Stanley Cup finalists from the top 4 teams from the year before, which I didn't know.
Right, and that was my next point. Was a certain company out of Long Island will only package the most recent season with their game. Now, if you are a fan of the current sport, whatever that sport is, that's fine. You're going to know the players. But if you're learning a game and you're coming into this new, and I hand you the 2019 Washington Nationals and 2019 Houston Astros, it's not going to mean anything to you. You can learn the mechanics of the game, and you might Max Scherzer is a pretty out there guy, and Jose Altuve and all that, but it's going to be it's like going to a dance lessons. Okay, 1, 2, 1, 2. But if I handed you something from whatever it was your sweet spot, and so in your case 90-91 NHL, I get it.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah. So the first thing I would suggest with the season is what you suggest is someone else said that too. I'm going to try Shootout, I'm going to try App, or I'm going to try Strata, whatever game they're going to try. Says get a season. Really, just because it'll make the game so much better. You will give the game more of a chance if you have guys that you can relate to.
Absolutely. And like I said, 14 is a good time to do that because that's the time in our life where we all pretty much don't, until before girls and cars in real life.
For me, it was 11 to 14. I think.
Anything
that was that range for me was that.
But you just picked the absolutely perfect spot because you had done that, and that doesn't mean it has to be 14.
Yeah. So that one time I stepped out of my comfort zone and I went with a newer season, which was 90 rather than 70, because I have 1970 in every single hockey game I own. And it's like, okay, let me try something a little bit more modern. And it was just kind of fun doing that. So for the first, do that. If you buy a new game, get a season. Now, as far as which seasons and why, I think it's like I say, sometimes you want to play your heroes.
Which is what your big thing was, to play Bobby Orr.
Yeah, I wanted to play Bobby Orr. I come over from video games a few years ago where I couldn't play Bobby Orr, and now I have all these hockey games where I can play Bobby Orr. In fact, the first game I played, I think, was it was that football game there. Oh man, what's the name of Football Mogul? Football Mogul was one of the first ones I played, and I was like, "What do you mean I can play the '78 Patriots with Steve Grogan?" That was like completely new to me, and this was only a few years ago. I was like, "What do you mean I can, trade Stabler and Grogan and see how they do?" I'd never heard of anything like that, and I did that in Football Mogul. And Grogan's on the Raiders and Stabler's on the Patriots, and I had a blast playing that out, seeing how they did, and I was like, that just opened all these kind of doors. Is going back to a season that I want to play and playing some of the heroes when I grew up, people that I knew. So for me, choosing a season, sometimes it comes down to the players that I enjoyed watching grow up. Other reasons why I might take a season is if there was a great, like I say, a pennant race or a football. Like I keep going back to '81 football. That's that
was a phenomenal season.
What was that? The Freezer Bowl and the catch.
And the catch.
I mean, in those playoffs there, how can you not want to play those playoffs? And obviously, if I get the '79 season, I get the Buccaneers going all the way to the NFC Championship game. So that's another reason I would play '79. Obviously, the '76 Buccaneers is another season I enjoy playing. Now, quite honestly, I don't know many people in the '76 Buccaneers. That's the thing, is I know the team. I know they went 0-14, and then they went 0-12.
Guess what? They don't remember each other either.
Yeah, so. Aside from the quarterback and the coach's son, I don't think I could name more than 5 guys off their team. And again, they rotated. I mean, from what I understood, they got the injury bug, and they were pulling guys out of the grocery store to finish the season, so that compounded their misery. But for me, it's playing that team, not so much the players, but the Buccaneers '76 team I enjoy playing. I enjoy playing some of the better Patriots seasons, and so I don't necessarily need to know the players. I'm just playing the team. A lot of the California Golden Seals, I play the team rather than looking for an individual guys.
I think that to piggyback on that point, it doesn't. There are certain teams, as you said, that stick with you. For you, it's a 79 Bucks. What can I do with the 86 Red Sox? Can I get them one more out? I mean, can I do it better with them than they did in real life? And I think for a lot of people, that's the case, and it can be a recent season. I have 2017 in baseball in quite a few engines because I covered the Nationals that year, and I just absolutely fell in love with that team. And so, again, nostalgia and good memories, and the fact that they really were a good team to cover, that works. And again, I think a lot of people do single team projects, whether it's a full season or best of or postseason. Another one is you might have watched a highlight package on YouTube for, Barry Sanders or something like that, or leagues put together highlight packages and like, oh yeah, that was a phenomenal NBA Finals between the Lakers and the 76ers. Or I know there's a whole bunch of Larry Bird trash talking stories. And so you see something like that and go, oh, wouldn't it be cool to play so-and-so in such and such year. Or, I think the point that Mark was trying to make was you just find some hidden gems. You play enough of the seasons where you're 14 years old or whatever and go, I read about something in 1974, such as the WFL with the action point. There was no...
That's a good point, too, yeah, because I didn't know anything about the WHA because it really wasn't covered here in Boston very much.
Well, I said WFL, but yeah, WHA.
But I'm saying, a different league.
A different league, a different season, something that's out of your wheelhouse. The 49 replay. I was kind of hoping the Red Sox would be halfway decent. No. I'm cursed when it comes to the Red Sox.
But picking an entire different league or a season in that, yeah.
Right, and because it's just a different era, and you learn about a whole different set of players and all that. Because obviously some names will transcend regardless of the era. Everyone's heard of Gordie Howe, everyone's heard of Bobby Orr, everyone's heard of Jackie Robinson, but how many casual fans know the name Carl Furillo or even Duke Snider, who is a household name in baseball, but for a casual person, who?
Yeah, didn't he once throw his own kid in a father-son game?
No, that was Bob Gibson. But yeah, I mean, to learn about the pioneers of a sport or whatever. And so, yeah, I mean, that's, or just to, again, as you did, get out of your wheelhouse and find something that you may not be as comfortable in playing, which, again, you might hate it, and seasons, for the most part, are relatively cheap. So if you only get 2 or 3 games out of that, you'd bought the 29, or was it 28-29 for Apple Hockey?
Yeah, I got a couple of old seasons of hockey. I know nothing about it, but just there was enough guys that I knew that I said, I'll give it a try, And the other thing I like about seasons, too, is defunct teams. I love...
You do, yes.
Defunct teams. And so I will...
Braves, the California Golden Seals. But back to the hockey thing, was that the last year before the forward pass was legal or the first year the forward pass?
I think that they were juggling it back and forth that year. Is that they allowed it mid-season. Oh, they didn't even have offside, I guess, because you couldn't pass forward. Then when he said you could pass forward, people were offside, so then they started to implement the current offside rule.
The blue line rule.
Yeah, but you couldn't pull the goalie, because that wasn't a thing back then.
The goalie couldn't even lay on the ice.
Yeah, there was no icing back then, so
but that was very daring of you to do that, because that's not only was a completely different game. And you and I spent a half hour one night going through, because I have a subscription to newspapers.com, old copies of the Montreal Gazette, reading game summaries and going, oh, wow, okay.
Yeah, it was very different.
They're the Canadiens and the Bruins and the Rangers and the Blackhawks, but this isn't the game that we're even remotely familiar with.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that was, I think, a great deal of fun.
I like. So you're doing the 49 baseball season, and like I said, I went back and played some of the 20s and 40s hockey season just to see the guys' names and just to kind of play it out. And especially back in 29, they only had 2 lines, so I only used 2 lines in the game.
Can you imagine that?
Yeah, it was a very different game, and it evolved to where it is now. But yeah, so playing different eras and different seasons is kind of fun too. And going back to the defunct teams, it's always fun to play, like I said, the New York Americans, or the Pittsburgh Pirates in hockey, or the Montreal Expos. I like to play the Montreal Expos.
The Expos, the original, any of the Washington Senators teams.
Yeah,
you could get real specific in the 1 year of the Seattle Pilots.
Yep.
I used to have cards and would collect players from played on defunct teams, because it was cool to see the hats and cool to see the logos.
It was,
and all that. And so, absolutely.
I still like to play my Houston Oilers. I miss the Houston Oilers. I know they played in a yucky dome, and the colors are terrible for TV. But
oh, come on, Love You Blue was great.
Yeah, but that dome, there was that Minnesota and Houston, they always had these faded lines. And it's like, it's inside. It can't get faded by the sun. Could you paint the lines a little darker white so we can see them?
Houston did it for years with chalk.
Yeah,
it was just like you do with a foul line in baseball.
Yeah, you couldn't see the dang lines in there, or the sidelines hardly. It's like, man, you think if it was indoors, you could get those nice and dark and bright for TV, and you could see them. No, it was terrible.
No.
But I still like my Oilers, so I like to play the defunct team. So I look for seasons with teams that don't exist anymore, or teams that have moved. One of the big reasons that I did the 77-78 season for our NHL project was I got to play the Colorado Rockies. I got to play the Atlanta Flames. Teams that I grew up with that aren't around anymore.
Right.
So it is fun.
And we're old enough to have that for the St. Louis Football Cardinals and the Baltimore Colts.
Yeah,
a lot of things like that. So the Oakland Raiders twice.
Twice, yeah. Yeah, so it is fun when you pick a season. Sometimes I pick a season for a team that doesn't exist anymore, and that brings back nostalgia too. Also too, we could talk about nostalgia seasons versus the current season, because I heard APA just released 2021 hockey cards for their hockey game, and Strat's coming right around the corner with that. But I mean,
Strat's doing 48-49 for hockey, and I forget which WHA season it is, but they're releasing a WHA season.
Yeah, I think I did. I don't know what. I might be the last one. It might be 78-79. It might be the last WHA season.
Yeah.
So I got to see, because a lot of
no retro basketball season from Strat this year.
Yeah.
I forgot what they released for football because I don't own it. But
that's too bad. I like the Strat.
I was
basketball.
surprised there was no retro season for basketball. But yeah, so I think you're right. 78-79 WHA.
A 40s hockey.
Gordy's with the Whalers that year, right? Yeah, he was with the Whalers the last year.
Yeah, he was still in the WHA. Yeah.
And 48-49, which would be Gordy as a kid on the production line with Sid Abel and Ted Lindsay.
Probably. Yeah.
And because there's only 6 teams, they're all carded. There's no PDF or Word document you got to doctor up to print.
I know, right? I do like that about APA, how you do get everybody. You don't got to worry about printing it. But anyway, yeah. So I mean, you can sometimes. I don't usually play the modern seasons. I don't follow it that well, but sometimes I get the itch. You see something happen in a season, or you get a good playoff run, or something like Vegas a couple years ago.
I'll buy the new version of Strat just because I'll want Montreal.
Oh, absolutely. You want to take Montreal going to the finals this year. Absolutely, get the PC game. Although I did hear a rumor that they're still not allowing your own dice rolls in that.
There probably won't be any real changes to it, but. Again, because I can't play physical cards and dice, that's the only way I'm going to get that team is to buy which is a whole nother episode. Of
I get a whole bunch of seasons, and I do like that game as well, the PC version of Strat Hockey. So as far as new seasons go, sometimes I get the itch to play a new season. I really do. Like, I'm almost tempted to buy that season that Vegas was an expansion team and went to the finals. I'm almost tempted to get that so I can play, because I did follow that a little bit.
They were a good team. I don't think unless Seattle does well now that we're into the free agency period of the offseason for hockey.
Oh, yeah.
That team does not strike me as good on paper as a very good team.
No, I think it was one guy they picked that I was familiar with. And
they got Gord from Tampa.
Yeah, I didn't know.
And that's about the only name that I knew.
I don't think they'll come anywhere close to what Vegas did. Vegas did, Vegas was making deals with teams. Like,
they got Marc-Andre Fleury right out of the gate.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's because Pittsburgh kept the other guy. Then, whichever.
And they got Max Pacioretty from Montreal. I mean, that was a good team.
But what teams were doing with Vegas was saying, we left this guy exposed. If you don't take this guy, then we will compensate in another way. That's what I heard happen. So if they had this guy exposed, they were like, if you don't take this guy, then we'll work a trade and throw in a draft pick or throw in what. So they were really really finagling things behind the scenes, and it was all legal, like, too, from what I understand. But that's why they were so good, is that guy worked so many deals, and he got
tremendous.
And how he picked the right guys at the right time, and they all worked together, and they got to the finals, and that was really fun to see that right there.
Good luck to Seattle, because I think they're really going to need it. I want to talk about, I know this is kind of straying off the topic here. As most of you know who follow hockey, Carey Price waived his no movement clause,
and they didn't take him
to be exposed. Well, no, I mean, and they weren't going to take him. He's worth $10.5 million the next 6 years. They would have been a salary.
And I heard he's going to be missing the first couple of months of the season too.
Is he hurt? Anyway, the reason why he did it, because you had to expose a goalie and a certain amount of players, is so that Montreal could protect his backup. So it was a completely unselfish move. Yeah, you can take me, but you're going to spend $60 million to do it, and Seattle was right not to do it. But it was pretty much to protect Josh Allen, his backup in Montreal. Anyway, back to the program. I just thought that was tremendous. I have a world of respect for him anyway, but that just went up tenfold.
Yeah. So I get why people would want to play the current season, because sometimes I get the itch too. I mean, you can almost spend too much time in the past, and then
and you know what? Not every year. It's not like I've been doing it for 10 years or anything like that. Do a Super Bowl pre-play. And because I'm not the biggest fan of modern football, I'll make sure I get the season for whatever it's out, and usually it's 2nd and 10. And I get a ton of enjoyment pre-playing the Super Bowl because I know how to read the cards. And so when I sit there and watch the Super Bowl, I kind of know what both teams are going to do with the football. And that just makes that enjoyment all the more for that. And so, yes, I think we have a tendency of being stuck with whatever we're nostalgic for. But, last year was the biggest offensive explosion in NFL history. And I had no idea.
But again, just like I say, me being the nostalgia guy, there are times they're like, I still would like to play something where people are still playing and they're on the same team, and so I get that itch once in a while to play the newer season. So when I go to choosing seasons, I usually go vintage, but I do get the itch for the new ones. The only problem is when they come out with the new season, it's always top dollar. It's always real expensive.
Well, it's new and people want it because one of the things that we'll be talking about at some point in the near future is draft leagues and the draft on the most recent season that is carded. And so I'm not sure how many people are actually playing the Minnesota Timberwolves from last year, but you can draft their players.
There's
already, again, one of the things that if you watch, in a casual fan, if you watch someone like the NBA champion Milwaukee Bucks, they haven't won in 50 years.
That was cool. That was cool that they won.
It was cool, and they're a very good team. Their star had 50 points in the final game.
Oh wow!
That's with emphasis. There will be people who will buy those teams again just because they made the deep run. Phoenix hadn't been in the final since '93, and Milwaukee hadn't won it all since before I was born. So that sort of thing. And again, there's nothing wrong with that.
I saw online there was a lot of people, I think it was actually Strat, Appa, and Action PC Hockey. They took all the players that Seattle drafted and put together a Seattle team instead of playing them. I
saw that someone did that in Action PC. I'm sure they've done it with Strat as well.
Yeah, someone had it in Strat as well. Yeah, Strat PC too. So it was kind of neat that they created Seattle, and they played a couple games already. So that was kind of neat.
The Kraken have been released.
They have. The Kraken's been released. Although I'm still not crazy about that name for a professional hockey. I mean, that sounds it sounds like a minor league team. It really does.
So while you were closing windows and stuff, I talked about watching stuff on YouTube and getting an idea to get a season. Is there any season you bought because, let's say, you saw a highlight package?
Oh, gee, so many. Yeah, but wouldn't matter what sport it is. Baseball, football, absolutely. Basketball, hockey. Even golf. Sometimes. I'm actually. I picked up the new golf season 2019-20, I think it's 2019-2020, which is the newest one, I think, for Inside the Cup, because I was playing the older seasons, but I was like, no, I'm going to get the new stuff because I'm watching them on TV now. So I got the new season. And when I ordered Dice Nuts Golf, I got the new season as well.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so I usually go classic. I always do. But I say, you know something? These are the guys I'm watching, so these are the guys I'm going to be playing right now. And so for me, I grabbed the new golf season is what I've been playing. So, but yeah, as far as going to YouTube, oh yeah, every day I'm on YouTube and I see a clip about something or a team, or it's like, hey, you remember this team here? It's like, oh yeah, I remember that team, and remember this playoff run, and then, oh, you remember this goalie when he got hot? So it's like, yeah, well, I got to get that season now because I want to put,
And it's so easy now to get it because we're not shipping things, because most people are buying things online. So you don't have to wait. There's an instant gratification. You watch that? Oh, let me fire that one up. I can do that right now.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, a lot of times, too, I'll be looking at seasons for football. I'm like, oh, yeah, I remember when he played on this team. It's like, oh, I should get that. The whole Stabler with the Oilers. I know Al's playing Stabler on the Saints in his pro strategy football season. He did the Namath with the Rams. I love that. I love that stuff.
That was fantastic.
Yeah, I love when because you forgot that Namath played with the Rams. I forgot Stabler went to the
because I believe Namath got hurt in week 3.
Yeah, well, he ended up he went in as a backup on the Saints in one game, and he threw like 3 or 4 interceptions, and he said, "I'm done." He just said, "Yeah, no, I can't do this anymore."
There comes a point where your body is not going to do what your mind wants to do.
Yeah, and he just did that. So, but yeah, so I go on YouTube all the time. That's probably the biggest pusher for me is YouTube when I see that, as well as people in our community when they're playing something. It's like, oh man, that looks like fun. I should get that season, and no matter what it is, I want to do that. But like I said, when in PC replay basketball, I got the '85 Celtics because I wanted to do that. I think I got another Celtics season. I don't know if it was 69-70 or 79-80.
That's the one they're working on for PC.
Okay, so maybe then it was 79-80 then. It's one of the years that they won it. I don't know if McKay was
81, I think, is the other Celtics championship team for replay.
Okay, yes. And then I also got an ABA season because I don't know anything about the ABA. But I wanted to check that season out because that's, again, one of those defunct leagues with crazy teams. That was it, the Kentucky Colonels or something like that. I mean, and they had a lot of teams that didn't finish the season, a lot of teams that, very much like the WHA that just kind of disbanded and changed mid-season and just, or lasted one season. So that kind of nostalgia is kind of fun too. So those again, I don't know anybody on the teams really, like the Buffalo Braves. They were again, we talk about seasons and teams. I like to go to the horrible teams because everyone plays the best teams. So I go to the Seals, I go to the 76 Buccaneers, and I go to the Buffalo Braves when it comes to basketball. Baseball, I tried the Cleveland Spiders out. And just so that kind of stuff, that intrigues me when you can. That's the other reason I like buying a season is I like playing the bad teams. I just do. And not all the time, but just you buy a season, you want the whole package. Like I like to collect the whole set. I'm a collect the whole set type of guy, and I have been my whole life. If there's 6 characters and you give me 5, I won't rest until I get the 6th one. I've always been that way as a kid. I like to collect the whole set. Luckily, the things I buy are not wicked expensive. It's all like usually games or gaming stuff. But I mean, I just like the fact that if I bought a season, I want to play the Kansas City Scouts. If I buy a season that the Red Sox were bad, I want to be able to play those Red Sox. The Patriots, how many bad seasons?
Well, then look no further than some teams from the 1920s if you like bad Red Sox teams.
Yeah, but I mean, the Patriots for years were like on the bubble of making the playoffs, and they weren't a top 4 team, but I still enjoy playing those mediocre teams. And that's one of the reasons I really like the Cards and Dice experience, is I can play a mediocre game. I'm not taking the best 2 teams, and I play by myself, so I'm not playing against anybody else. But I'll take 2 mid-range teams and play them out. Even in Hockey Blast, I took a couple bad teams and played them in Hockey Blast because I wanted to see what happens with 2 bad teams. 2 best teams, what's going to happen with 2 best teams. But when you get bad teams, how is that going to happen? What happens if you get no scoring chances because they're so bad? I wanted to see firsthand, and I just, like I said, I ordered a season of, there was another hockey game I just ordered. I haven't played yet, and I'll get that up on my channel at some point. And it was only like the top 4 or 6 teams. And I was just like, honestly, I want to have the option to play every team that season. And he ended up making all the teams in that season. He's like, okay, here they are. I don't know why I want to play the bad teams, but I says, well, that's what I do. I want to play. And I think the thing is like I envision in my head like road trips. Like with Strat, I remember taking the Bruins on a West Coast road trip in '69, and they played, Vancouver and California and L.A. and I think even Detroit on the trip across the country. And I just played them in random order, and that was fun seeing how they did on this road trip. Now, if I don't have those teams, I can't play the road trip. I can only play the best. So I enjoy. When I get a season, I want to have all the teams, and I've almost done that with Strat. I've almost printed out every team in Strat when I buy the Strat seasons. Apple, you don't have to.
It all comes there, yeah.
Yeah, it all comes there. But I do like to have all the teams. Just like I like to have all the golfers, if possible, all the tennis players. At least all the winners.
One of the things, if you could for the past NHL season, is if you put teams in their proper divisions where they were pre-COVID. What would you get if you did a replay with that? That's a very interesting.
Yeah, and that could be a whole nother topic too. Is what are these companies doing the last couple of years where they've had such bizarre seasons where they're playing short seasons? They offer, some companies are offering the actual played season, and other ones are offering, well, this is the actual would have been season without.
I think Strat and Action PC offered 3 versions. I know Action PC offered 3 versions of 2020 baseball as played, the 60 game season. Their normal player stats projected out from 60 games to 162, and then a what if projection season if they had done that. So it's a whole different thing. And I think Strat released the 60 game season and then extrapolated towards the full 162 game season. So it's creative.
Very creative. I think you have to. You give the people the option of playing as played or what would have been.
Right. But yeah, for hockey, it'd be very interesting to see what would happen if you put teams in their proper divisions, and then I still think Tampa wins the cup. But that's so. Yeah.
Well, not in shootout hockey. In shootout hockey.
I love you. You know that.
It was Montreal that took the cup in my shootout hockey series. Yep. So that's a little chat about seasons, some of the reasons that we picked up seasons or why we buy seasons. So tell us about you. Why do you buy specific seasons? Is it for the player? Is it for the team? Is it nostalgia? Is it, did you have season tickets to a team that you went to?
Season tickets.
I still would love to see some AHL hockey from when I went to Worcester from, was it 95 to like 2004. I had season tickets to the minor leagues there, and there's only a couple of games that have that, and they're real hard to find.
Even if you get priced down of season tickets, what would have happened if you went to, because that happens a lot in football. Ticket prices go up, but it's only for football replays.
Yeah.
You only play 10 home games anyway, and you're not playing the preseason game.
Yeah. So tell us why you buy a season, or do you not? Do you just only play the greatest teams? Did you take a team from season A and play season B? Or do you play within the season? Yeah, tell us a little about your gaming experience when it comes to seasons, and that was our topic for today. Yeah. So we'll wrap things up here.
Absolutely.
So by the numbers, this was show 98. The Goose. Wow. The Goose episode.
Tony Siragusa.
Yeah, we're coming up on show 100 pretty soon. In a couple weeks, we'll be hitting that one there. But this was episode 98. Ways to get a hold of us. DigitalToDice.com is our website. 978-751-DICE. 978-751-3423 is the text line. DigitalToDice@yahoo.com is our email. And Facebook.com/groups/DigitalToDice. Get in on the discussion over there. Ron, thanks for joining me.
As always.
And we finally got episode 98 in the bag.
The next one I know will be a great one.
I like that. Good segue. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.